What is this, week 41 of 52? We've been doing these a long time. Thank you guys so much. I know I left you waiting for a few minutes there, and I apologize for that. Typical Canadian. I'm sorry. Hope you guys grabbed your coffee. I see a few of you are in there going to make some. And I hope you're having fun this wonderful fall morning. And on that note, going to have a great topic in store for you, but just a quick recap for those that don't know. Huge shout out right now to the almost 100 guys in the Patreon community, which is awesome. They've shown a lot of support, and I've cranked out a lot of content for them, as well as we started our own little private community. Something I kind of found out when we did the Rule Zero fan group in Facebook. One, Facebook still has a machine learning language filter, which really prevents a lot of us from being very candid. And let's face it, when you're talking about sex, occasionally some bad words are going to pop up. That, and it's one of those you get what you pay for things. So as it's free, a lot of us can't really take time out of the business adventures to focus a lot on directing traffic there. So we worked on that one. Anyway, it's on trp.red. It's a nice little platform made by the creator of the Red Pill subreddit, Red Pill School. It's the one advantage it has is that it's not part of that Silicon Valley anti-woke social justice warrior language filtering kind of police there. So it's kind of neat. Couple warts on it, but you know what? Nothing's ever perfect on the first try, and guys are very ornery by default, so expecting all of us to get along is a bit of a stretch. So on that note, I also plan on getting you guys some more videos coming up. The kitchen's just about finished. Our contractor decided not to tell the plumbers that they needed to bring supplies, so they didn't. So I don't have running water yet, which sucks, but that's fine. Worst case scenario, I'll just use a bunch of the footage I already have for some good red pilled coffee videos. We got a new recipe coming up. I call it like a mole inspired chocolate pork. It's a wonderful little dish you can use literally just to, if you're living with a vegan, sprinkle it on top of just about any vegan food and you'll turn it into real food. So that'll be awesome. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Drew, that not having countertops would suck, as he said here. It is amazing how much you need countertops, and you never notice until you don't have them. Same thing with running water. But, you know, it is what it is. As far as hardships go, I'll take that over being back on one of the Canadian destroyers and having to take cold pusser showers because the hot water only lasts for about 15 minutes, and the stokers always get there before you. On that note, this topic, I want to say it's near and dear to my heart, but it's not. It's actually something I don't like, and I find too many guys do. So I thought, why don't we take a couple hours and, oh, one sec. Why don't we take a couple hours and discuss it? Because I think a lot of guys are going to find a ton of value by learning about genuine desire and what that word even means. There we go. Forgive me here. I'm just making sure I got your chats front and center. Heaven forbid I miss when you guys throw out a super chat or some love or a critique or call me a name. It's a back and forth here. If you're listening to this one on audio podcast, which so far it looks like we've pretty much got the gamut of podcast services we're on. So Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, and there's a couple very obscure ones that I've never heard of before. But if you're into that stuff, yeah, MGTOW, I'm not going to lie. I kind of think you're going to make me into a skin suit. You say I love you so much. But so when I say genuine desire, what does it I even mean? It's, and I use the term container words. Actually, you know what? Before we start about that, I just realized Carl finally came out and gave everybody a hello and a heads up. If you guys haven't seen it yet, his first tweet this month. He is getting better. He is doing well. We'll talk about it once he's up and running again. What can I say? His insider trading charge, it looks like he's been acquitted, which is awesome. So screw Bitcoin, just do insider trading. So genuine desire. It's one of those things, and it reminds me of, I don't know if you guys have ever know the industry term of genuine leather, but so genuine leather is literally the lowest quality of leather that you can get. And because nobody wanted to buy something called cheap bullshit damaged leather, they called it genuine leather. Well, genuine is good, right? Well, no, genuine's not a positive term. It's just a term that screams authenticity. And if there's one thing that I've learned about men in my time, is that men are desperate for the impression that they have authenticity, even though that's not really a well-defined term either. So when I say genuine desire, I find it's mostly used, and whether guys know it or not, they do. They use it as a way to distance themselves from the realistic or the ugly nature of sexual dynamics. Case in point, a good example I'll think of, there was a couple guys this week even. One was a client, one was a poster from the subreddit, where their wife was having enthusiastic sex with them, a lot of effort, doing all the things that they like, but it wasn't good enough because it wasn't genuine. But then you kind of deep down dive into it. Like what makes it genuine? Well, she has to enthusiastically want it. Okay, well, a lot of married girls do that. Girls that marry rich guys enthusiastically want them sexually happy. It's like, yeah, but they want them for their money. And you kind of get into that. And then I realized it's not even a married guy problem. It's a married and single guy problem. As much as I love Rich Cooper, and I know his message right now is to chase excellence, chase your fortune, and then, the women will come, which is true. More women become available as you become more valuable, and having enough money to have a good lifestyle that's exciting is a part of that. Problem comes, and I have a client like this, where you have a level of success, but then you always have this underlying nagging feeling that when you're with a woman, that she only wants you because of that. Well, be a bit hyperbolic here, but yeah, she only wants me because I have a bike. She only wants me because I have a nice car. She only likes me because my place is awesome. She only likes me because I pay her rent. Stuff like that. And this is the big reason that I really disagree with Rich Cooper when he says chase excellence and the women will come, because I find it's just giving children with dynamite bigger dynamite. There's an underlying issue. The issue that a guy doesn't quite understand women's sexual nature. And so they either project male sexual nature onto them, or they build up these errant mental models. Yeah, I believe they call it now. They don't say pay her rent. They just say handle them, or what was it? Handle the note. Yeah, the car note. So then here's the problem. If you've built up a lot of external markers of value, and we could talk about the beta buck side of it, we can talk about the alpha fuck side of it. Either way is fine. Neither one matters in this case. Both guys do get sex, just different ways and different timelines. But if you don't know what it's like to get sex for validation's sake, then you're not going to be sure if you're getting it when you have things other than validation to offer. I know a lot of guys I've spoken to, some of you guys are probably in the chat, are this exact way, that, yeah, I'm kind of in monk mode right now. And I hate the term monk mode, but that's a whole other topic. Monk mode, make my fortune, then women will come. And I'm telling you right now, once you do, let's say your business isn't just a soothing mechanism or a coping strategy saying you're not, maybe you really are, and maybe it is really doing well. Let's say it takes off, and then a girl shows interest in you, touches your dick, thinks you're the greatest guy ever. You're constantly going to be doubting whether she's with you for you or with you for your money. And it's entirely possible both are true. Women like money the same as anybody. Eunuch mode. Yeah, well, actually, somebody explained it to me with some nuance here. He kind of just put it in terms of like a naval deployment. So totally changes how I think of it. And I definitely know people are doing it wrong, but I think I could get into the sentiment of it. I'll maybe do that in a video. So here's the problem. You're constantly avoiding women. It's not that women are the most important thing in your life. I know all the arguments. Yeah, things are better than women. Sex is just a biological thing. That's fine. Here's the thing, though. People are very adamant that it's not the most important thing, and they will tell you incessantly about how they're not important, and they're not important. They're definitely not important. You got to believe me, and I'm definitely not pep talking myself out of my vice being a virtue. Totally. I like equating it to food. When you're starving, all you can think about is eating. But once you've eaten, you don't really think about eating anymore. And I think sex should really align with that. You need to be able to learn how to cook. You need to be able to make sure you're well fed and not starving, but you can't be striving for obesity by eating everything you can see. So genuine desire isn't really genuine. It's sexual experience, I guess, is a more practical way of describing it. Yeah. You need food, water, shelter. You don't. I usually don't get into these ones, but yeah, you need food, water, shelter. You don't need sex. You know what? That's the one here. Yeah, you don't need food, water, or shelter either. Do you know you can go 3 months without eating? You know you can go 3 weeks without water? Or 3 weeks, 3 days? You get the point. It's the rule of three. Survivalists know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you don't need it, but if you're not getting it, it causes problems. Your car doesn't need an oil change every 3,000 miles, but if you don't get one, eventually it starts to cause problems. Your car wears down faster. Same thing with people. If you want to get into this from an evolutionary perspective, the entire reason that DNA and organisms exist is perpetuate themselves. So technically, if you want to look at it as a science way, and I don't know why you would, the only reason you exist is to have sex and make more. So we can go the science route. I just know it's important enough that people will argue incessantly about how unimportant it is. And that should tell you, that should give you pause. Yeah, and if you've never been to that point where you have nothing to offer but you, that could be a set of abs, charming personality, maybe just you're there because she hates her husband and you're different and you're available. You're starting to see the different reasons that women have sex. Now, if you don't want to go through all the hassle of sleeping with a bunch of women, that's fine. I understand that. Go your own way if you want. But do read Why Women Have Sex by Dr. Cindy Minston and Dr. David Buss. Buss or Boos? They saved you all the trouble of having to flirt with girls and take them home by doing a nice, robust study of tens of thousands of women. And it gets into everything from deceptive sex signals to some of the more flippant reason girls have sex. And we'll get into some of the details here in a minute. But first off, going to give a shout out here to Martin Van Bull with his 50 Scoobies. Thank you, Ryan. Amazing content. No, Martin, thank you. Between your guys' eyeballs here and the Patreon supporters, most of the Patreon guys, but I don't want to minimize your guys' contribution. If it wasn't for you guys, none of this would be happening. So pat yourselves on the back. Yeah, well, Jack, it's not so much that there's more books and the work does itself. There's a difference between reading about women and experiencing women. But for those guys who have neither, it's a good starting point. For those guys who have a little bit of experience, but they can't really articulate it, it's really good to round out the knowledge. You'll see cases in there where girls sleep with a guy for all kinds of reasons, and all of them are genuine. I mean, they can't not. A girl not having genuine desire is like a guy saying he doesn't. He's authentic. Or he's going his own way. There's no other way to go. So there's no other way for a girl to have sex and not be genuine about it, other than rape. But don't really think I'm going to have a rape episode. That's a little bit too feminist for me. Thank you very much. And so let's say just go with soft prostitution. Girl's sleeping with you because he wants a purse. She wants a purse. Is that genuine desire? Well, it's genuine. She really wants her purse, and that's a way to get it. But I don't think that's what guys mean. What about the girl that sleeps with her husband because that's her wifely duty and Jesus told her to? Is that genuine? Well, a lot of guys will say, no, not really, because she's not desiring me. She's desiring the rules. This is the one problem I have with the traditional conservative, I mean the real ones, not the LARPing ones, with the traditional conservative attitudes and mental models towards sex and relationships. It's that they encourage stability in relationships, not by making the man the most desirable element of the relationship, but the men with pointy hats making rules. Girls have this innate desire to defer to the strongest person in the tribe, and the church is making itself the strongest person, or the whatever the authority is, the pastor, that kind of stuff. And it's very demeaning, not demeaning, but dehumanizing for a guy to realize that you're there and you're getting conjugal visits from your wife because the man with the pointy hats told her that she should do that. It's no different than a pimp having a friend over for dinner and saying, hey, why don't you enjoy Sarah for a minute there? Or enjoy Susan. I'm going to use Susan. I like Susan. Chloroform codes. Jesus. And so that's not genuine either. So what is genuine? And you really want to delve down to it. Like, ask yourselves this. Put this in the chat too. What is genuine? If a girl has hysteric bonding, is that genuine? A lot of guys don't think so either. If you guys don't know, hysteric bonding is a name we use for a concept. In this case, the concept is maybe a girl cheated and the guy's dignity is like, I'm not putting up with this. Maybe the girl just hasn't had sex with her husband in forever and he files for divorce. Some situation where the girl is going to lose the comfort of a relationship. And so she has huge anxiety, and because of that anxiety, it manifests as sexual attention. It's basically, having sex like your life depended on it. And it was weird because it completely out of place with the way a normal sexual dynamic works in the relationship. So we called it hysteric bonding. Is that genuine? Well, no, the girl's only worried about losing me. Well, that's one way to look at it. So again, we don't have genuine, like nobody understands genuine then. So what is genuine? Which motivations are applicable to being genuine desire? And the funny thing here is, and we'll probably get Jack here who knows this himself, but the thing that's genuine is don't care, got laid. I always loved that. Don't care, got laid. It's the simplest, deepest, and most profound thing a guy can say when it comes to all this mental masturbation, all this navel gazing. Yeah. Well, yeah, when they just want to for the sake of it. Like, and Drew hits it on there too, just for the sake of it, just because what? They're bored? Somebody who's bored and wants to have sex, it kind of doesn't work either. But it's not even the girl's genuine desire. The guy is mostly concerned that he's not being gamed well enough. Is essentially it. I mean, because you get a soft prostitute, you give them the girlfriend experience. Those having sex with a prostitute's like a couple $100, whatever. The girlfriend experience run guys a couple grand because that is the appearance of genuine desire. And so that's what the guys want. They want the chase. They want the One Man Way's got a good question. We'll get to that one in a second here. I'll put it up once it comes up on my queue here. Yeah. Thank you for the $20 super chat. I'll finish this thought and we'll get straight to your question. Actually, you know what? Just skip to it now. So if my number one desire is to have desire from a woman, is it even possible to make myself my own mental point of origin? Yes, but I see the way you're phrasing it here. So your number one desire is going to change. You're always supposed to have a direction. You're always supposed to have a mission. Being attractive is just as much a mission as making a fortune or buying a car or fixing my house or, all these things. They're all just goals. When people talk about their mission, it's just an overarching idea of becoming better in the things that matter, filled with a bunch of goals underneath. Being attractive can be a goal. It's a perfectly good goal. The difference between making yourself your own mental point of origin and I guess they would call it what? Pussy begging is what the MGTOWs call it. The difference between those things is how you handle the rejection of it. So if you make your narcissistic fantasy that you're Don Juan and you want to have genuine desire from a woman, and that's your narrative, when a girl rejects you, she rejects the narrative, and then you perform what's called narcissistic rage. So if your first thought of getting rejected by a girl is to call her a lesbian, then yeah, you're definitely not your own mental point of origin. It's a validation seeking thing. Having said that, if you're the kind of guy who just loves women, loves sleeping with good women, or at least fun women, we'll say fun women. Let's specify the subset of women so we don't make them all a monolith that we can love or hate. But yeah, you'll sleep with this one. Yeah, you'll sleep with that one. Maybe this one will turn you down, but it doesn't really affect you because your mission is to be more attractive, more charismatic, generally a prize. And so while you want desire from a woman, if you don't get it, it doesn't affect your mission because there's always going to be another one or there's something to learn. It's more about enjoying the process than the end goal. On a side note here, I'm going to get onto that one a little bit more. Just a quick shout out to Conk. Black Label Logic most likely got butt implant surgery, needs the rectum fortitude to keep sitting and playing WoW. Oh, I can't wait for Carl to get back. I'm going to rip into him so much. I'm actually having to learn about World of Warcraft right now so I can poke fun. We're going to go back to this one, though. There we go. So yeah, mental point of origin. And it's a hard thing to articulate. I've actually got a video. I think it was the video. Was it a video or an essay? Might have been from the book. I think it's a video. Anyways, check my back catalog. You'll see it. It's like in the last week or two where I talk about what it means to have a mental point of origin. And the easy way to tell the difference between a narcissistic fantasy and mental point of origin is to answer the question, what's in it for me? In the case of desiring women, becoming more desirable to women, what's in it for me? And it's maybe I just have fun with the chase, catch and release. A lot of married guys do that. It's a lot of fun. Soccer moms will disagree, but soccer moms don't matter. What's in it for me? Maybe you just like to stick it into as many girls as possible. And that's fine too, if that's your thing. I would suggest against that. Oh, that's where I was going. A lot of guys do that where they plow through and they just build up their notch count. And I was guilty of this when I first started out myself. The problem is that gets bored very quickly. I kind of want to come up with a pithy way of describing it using like roosh as like the key word to it, like a rooshism or something, but we'll get there when we get there. Let's say you get through 100 women and the only thing you're worried about is getting them into bed as fast as you possibly can. That gets boring after a while. It gets tiring and there's no challenge. Guys love challenges and competition. I find the guys who tend to do better over a more sustained period of time is they enjoy the process. They enjoy the chase. They enjoy the competition. You can kind of take that to extremes where a lot of guys will only date married women, which, I mean, I guess there's a market for it if that's what you want to do. I don't really like it, but whatever. So it's not a bad thing. And that's the problem is that, I mean, Nietzsche talked about it. De La Roche talked about it, or Rochefort. Marcus Aurelius talked about it. It's about turning our vices into virtues. And I could say, short of devout religious zealotry, and even then, you can kind of see it. The only people who discuss things in terms of not wanting to be pussy beggars. It's an unattractive mental model. It's not even, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Lots of things, if you have an underlying assumption about something, even if it's horrible, it can be true. But that's not very helpful. You can describe how does Mr. Burns call it? Just tell me which pedal's the velocitator and which one's the deceleratrix. Yeah, and that's true. But if I don't tell you it's a gas pedal and a brake or what to push it for, then it's not really helpful. Yeah, I'm going to throw up a comment here from Michel because I think he puts it best. He at least, I wouldn't say he puts it best, but he puts it in a way that I resonate with here. I always say that guys enjoy the chase. The hunt easy is never interesting. Yes. And any guy who's gotten enough sex or desire, genuine desire, will kind of start taking that attitude where they realize they made it into a big deal until they had enough, and then it was no longer a big deal. Just like food. I was starving, so I was eating like a maniac. I couldn't stop eating, but then you're full. And now it's like, whatever, it's just food. So it's not so much you just don't want to eat, tubs and tubs of gruel or giant things of oats. You want to enjoy good food. You want to enjoy cooking it. You want to enjoy the little parts of it. And I think it's a healthier way of looking at things. Now, you can look at it as pussy begging if you want to. You can look at it as a sex doll thing if you want to. And that's fine. I'll put it this way, though. Do you want to be right about that? Or do you want to be happy? Most guys say they want to be happy, but they just want to be right and correct. And they don't want to be uncomfortable. So you want your genuine desire. I would say that's it. Just a lot of fun. Enjoy them for what they are. Now, not all. Some women are absolute trash. And you know what? I'd say at least 3/4 of the women I've dated are trash. I'm not saying that they're bad people. I'm just saying from the things that I value from a woman, they were subpar in very serious categories. How many divorced and single moms are there out there right now? Percentage-wise, right now. Those are all subpar choices. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean that they're at where they're at for non-realistic reasons. A lot of people are divorced for perfectly rational reasons. Husband's an alcoholic or an abusive guy, whatever, all those things. And that's very sad. My heart weeps out to him, but it's not my problem and it's not yours. So it's a subpar choice. Save the subpar choices for subpar people. Expect better of yourself. Now, if that's the only choice you have, you can take that one of two ways. Get the best divorced single mom you could find. Power to you. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to take care of them kids. Or you take it, and this is where I still think of it as a mental point of origin, even though it is looking for desire from women. If you're not getting desire from the type of women you want, then there's something about you, either your product or your marketing, and you can work on both at the same time while you're building your fortune. It is very trivially easy to rearrange your life in such a way to be social in sporadic bursts. If you work from home and you're staring at your computer all day, that's fine. Nothing is stopping you from taking a break 4 times a day, walking down to Starbucks and approaching a girl on your way there and approaching a girl on your way back. Nothing stopping you from striking up a random conversation with a guy or a girl. Nothing is stopping you, and this is the exact same thing as I tell for married guys on Dread Level 2 when they have to learn to make their attention, affection, and comfort commensurate with the value you're getting. Yeah, I'm going home. I have work to do. And you're talking to this random stranger, but the whole time, the way that the whole conversation is framed with this random girl, who may be a good one, is right now, I've got important things to do. You've piqued my curiosity, and I'm seeing if you're offering me a more valuable use of my time than I would otherwise spend working on my business or whatever else you had that you were doing that wasn't a social thing. And that changes how you talk. It changes how you act. It changes your body language. And girls are they don't know it, but they're very perceptive on it. If you guys haven't seen on my Twitter feed a couple days back, there was an argument with a girl who talked about losing her virginity at 13 to a 21-year-old. And everybody was constantly worried about, oh, she's not taking responsibility for her choices, blah, blah, blah. Or, that was rape. She's like, no, it wasn't rape. It was illegal, but not rape. And the whole point is everybody had these weird mental models they had to get into about who was at fault, where was the wrong thing done, what do we need to do to make the world just. Totally wrong way to look at it. I forgot where I was going with that. Which is too bad because that was a very controversial set of points. But so just like approaching people. Yeah, so you learn that was it. So you take that person, 13, 15 years old, which a lot of girls, I'd say most girls have probably been deflowered by then. Then you put them at 23 years old. They're 10 years into the game. 10 years since they entered the sexual marketplace. So you look at a 23-year-old, you can't think of them as a little girl. Sure, in some things they may act like children, but Like, she's a pro. She knows what she's doing. She's been around the block. She's been hit on 1,000 times in the last 10 years. And she's seen just about every trick guys have thought of doing. Oh, if you think you're doing it and you think it's clever, I guarantee you she's seen it before. And this is why pickup works so effectively, because you see what the guys who are successful do and you emulate that. And she knows what the successful guys have done, because those are the ones that made her tingle and the ones that made her feel genuine desire or just sex for the sake of it, because the guy has engaged her emotions and she's expressing her emotions through the need of validation through sex. As close as I can come to a proper definition of genuine desire. And so guys learn to emulate that. And that was how the pickup thing started. And then, oh, that works. It was, and then there was parts where a lot of girls kind of felt a little bit cheated from it, because, you know, as soon as the guy stopped acting, like, he could put on a good show for an hour or 2 hours, but, you know, 3-4 hours into it, he started acting like his normal unattractive self. So it wasn't sufficient past the lay. Red pill guys started working on, and this goes back, I can't remember which part of the pickup community did this, but they talked about inner game, where they realized, you know, yeah, guys are supposed to have good posture, not slouch, but, you know, a great way not to slouch and have good posture is to lift weights for years. That'll help fix your posture. And then they realized, okay, so there's this underlying work involved, that these secondary signals that we've faked before, we can actually genuinely express. Again, genuine. Genuine implies work and reward. Maybe they feel like they're trying to get away with something. That is possible. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to get too much into the motivations. I don't think there's a way I can take that conversation anywhere and not end up on CNN with some middle-aged soccer mom yelling at me. So I'll just leave it there for you guys to ponder. But yeah, so here's the thing: you're not as experienced. Any girl you meet is going to have twice your notch count. I don't care how much you slay. Every girl you meet, and even if they don't, you need to assume that. Oh, wait a second here. All right, quick break here for Sam's. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Is religion genuine desire for women, or is it obligatory relationship? Here's the thing: it's kind of both. Women experience genuine desire, and this is what hypergamy is about. This is about, guys love variety. We will try our taste at every type of woman. But women are very simple. They'll settle for the best. The idea for religion, it's creating an artificial construct for the best. And this is essentially the Jesus role for girls. Jesus, the ultimate father figure, he's the one you look up. He's the ultimate one to look up to. And he says, make sure you do your husband. So there is kind of a genuine desire there. And you know, it works when you see a lot of those sex negative applications of church where they teach girls that sex is bad. You got the, you know, the more barbaric stuff in Africa and that. So it clearly creates or removes genuine desire, but it does it in an artificial way. And granted, back then we needed it, because we needed a lot of farmers. So you needed, if you didn't have 7 and 6-year-olds tending the fields and not dying of dysentery, then everybody in the village starved. So I get why it was necessary. But we got machines and robots and sex dolls now, so we don't really need that anymore. I equate it to chocolate cake. Chocolate cake is killing us. Diabetes, all the works. But the underlying instinct for us to chase out and secure simple carbohydrates for energy is a primitive one, because back in the day, we had to chew sugarcane for 2 hours to have enough energy to hunt. And this is the case where our instincts in a world of abundance can actually work against us. But at the same time, our instincts are there for a good reason. So once you can kind of use your frontal lobe to navigate around that, it helps you a lot in understanding these things. Are they virgins if they only do? Yes, Sam, the anything but virgins. God bless them. A lot of guys will talk about how Catholic girls or Mormon girls or Muslim girls, if you'll notice any non-Christian religious girl, they always talk about them being better, and they'll save themselves in that. And talk to anybody here who's lived next door to a Catholic school or dated Muslim girls, like the anything but stuff. And I use that word very precisely. Yeah, they do kind of like what the Jewish religion does. Like, I know there's like, you don't do this on the Sabbath. You're not allowed to push buttons, all those little rules, but they're designed in such a way that you can be clever and skirt the rules to the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law. That's why you have elevators in Hasidic areas that just go to each floor individually. So you're not hitting any buttons, but you're still doing what you weren't supposed to do, which was you go to work and that you're supposed to actually use it as a rest day, day for family. So very clever. Or my favorite one was the one, I think I saw it on that Bill Maher, where it was like, you're not allowed to hit buttons. So there was a phone that Hasidic people had where instead of pushing a button, you would release the mechanism that pushes the button. So it pushes it and you're unpushing it. And I was like, oh, it's at that point, like, why you even need that obfuscation? But sometimes the pretty little lies help us. And there's another part of genuine desire. Those pretty little lies. We like to be lied to. We like to be romanced. We like the story. Men and women both. So when you see those guys that say genuine desire and find great comfort in the girlfriend experience from a prostitute, they'll also turn around and say that I don't like pickup because it's lying and it's manipulative. But here's the thing. Girls, like I said before, they've got 7 to 10 years experience on you. At least. Twice the notch count, at least. They know it's a game. They know you're not being 100% truthful, but they enjoy it anyway. Same way you can play a video game and not think that you're shooting up a school. Or you can watch a movie and realize I'm not Iron Man, but you're still enjoying it. It's a form of escapism. And so when people talk about genuine desire, it's funny because it manifests as distinctly ungenuine, which, makes me laugh. It's like I said, authenticity. Everybody always searches for the appearance of authenticity without actually having to earn it. So welcome to life where we're full of pretty little lies. The difference between a red-pilled guy and a normal guy, though, is whether the lies are beneficial to you or not. And this is where you get past the anger phase and you kind of realize that a lot of what we do is based on plausible deniability that way. What is genuine desire? Well, manufactured outrage, that's genuine desire. You get a girl very mad, you get a girl really happy, she gets very emotional, and then she expresses it by, sleeping with you. That's genuine. Did you manufacture the situation? Yes. Does it only count if that happens accidentally? It could, but it doesn't have to. Same thing with this. If a girl is starting to get anxiety because she realizes she's losing her man to a younger woman or to any woman or just a separation anyway, and her sex drive kills into overdrive, is that genuine desire? Sure. She genuinely wants to have sex for a purpose, and the purpose there is to keep you around. And it just so happens that sex once every 3 years is not going to cut it. Is a girl having sex because she's angry at her date and she wants to get revenge because he cheated on her? Is that genuine? Of course it's genuine. She has very strong emotions right now and she's going to express them on the first attractive person she comes across. Totally genuine. So the best answer to what is genuine desire should be, or could be, or is, I hate should. Don't care, got laid. And then when you're done, go back to whatever it is you were doing that's more important. If you want to talk about going your own way, I would say that's going your own way. It's just building a variety of social skills that you need to navigate the world as it is. That's the human condition. Yeah, you got to be good at talking to people because if you're in any type of business or self-employed, you're going to be doing sales. Yes, you need to be good with women because, women are great social capital and sex feels great and is a natural part of the desire. So that feels fun. And that's totally it. You learn to cook and you learn about the difference of food because you like to eat, but you don't have to eat. Congrats, Mish. Yeah, totally. It's all genuine and it's all part of the human condition. So I don't find any validity in that argument guys have where the juice isn't worth the squeeze because they aren't the fruit that you're squeezing. You're the fruit. You're squeezing your own juice. The juice is me. And I don't know about you guys. This is something funny because even quick story, a little off topic, but it's getting to the topic. My last 5 years in the military, I know a lot of my friends knew that I never liked being in the military. Like I was good at it, but I never liked it in the same way they did. My one really good friend said that once. He's like, yeah, I know you don't want to be here. But he knew that I also don't like being a bag of crap. So I did a good job because that's a self-respect, a dignity thing, and that's fine. So I finally left the military. Guys were not surprised at all, which is weird. Most of the time when people leave, people act surprised. With me, it wasn't. Sex is kind of like that. You don't have to love women as a monolith. You don't have to, I love all women, or the woman of Willendorf, Venus of Willendorf, whatever you want to call her. You don't have to worship the female form or females or girls at all. But at the same time, you don't want to be that guy that's completely incapable of getting one in some capacity. And that's a self-worth and dignity thing. It's not putting it on a pedestal, because there's a lot of other things you're going to be doing that too as well. Well, if I can't sell a widget, then what good am I to the world? And that's part of the male condition. There is no intrinsic value to us. It's the common phrase is men are like clay and women are like flowers. Flowers are beautiful. They grow tall. Once you cut one, they're basically on the clock, and they work tirelessly to find themselves a pot or a vase to live in. Guys are clay. Clay is ultimately useless. Nobody cares about clay. But if you fire it, if you form it into a shape that's useful, put a lot of work into it, a lot of pain, eventually you get something out of it that's extremely useful. Make yourself into a pot. Pot and the flower. Exactly what it is. And the pot's going to be there forever. It slows down the wall. It's a very cool metaphor if you want to get into it. I'm not going to get too pedantic on you guys here, but whatever. Female adipose tissue feels nice in my hand. Way to completely remove the romantic notions of it. But yeah. And so you learn to enjoy women as either disposable playthings or long-term partners. I wouldn't say lifelong, because I think that's a very unrealistic thing. It doesn't seem that humans are designed for lifelong monogamy. It seems like we're designed for long periods of monogamy, or serial monogamy, I guess, which makes sense, because when a lot of girls, when they have hypergamy run amok and they don't get any constraints on their sexual nature, it's not about them just having one night stands all the time. Most don't. Most are in 1 to 3 month relationships, back to back to back. And that's exactly how they manifest. And for a lot of you guys that think most girls are slutty, or just it's like thought culture, it's not the case at all. They hate being thought of as a slut. But they enjoy sex. And so one way that this manifests that tends to happen is they always have a boyfriend. And that's another thing when guys talk about this, like, oh, she has a boyfriend, as if that's like a go or no go. There's a little secret they never told you in charm school. Every girl has a boyfriend, but not every girl is unavailable. They use the term boyfriend the same way that girls use the term friend. Friend just means somebody who's fun to go to the mall with. It doesn't mean an actual friend. And in this case, a boyfriend a lot of the time isn't either. That's why I always find it funny when a lot of guys are really adamant and they fight to like get a relationship. Like, I want a girlfriend. Like, you can call her a girlfriend if you want to. It's not going to change anything. You still have the same problem you were with before. Is that a girl will generally go with her best option. And until she's committed to the point where there's skin in the game, well, it's just your turn. She's not yours. That's genuine. All of this is genuine. And that's the thing. It's a realistic appraisal of the sexual marketplace and the people. So what's more genuine than that? Objective. I don't want to say truth. Observed human behavior. Can't get more genuine than that. So when there's genuine desire, and when you're that kind of guy, and I know a lot of guys I'll tell this to, and they'll, yeah, but my wife's only having sex with me because, and then they'll come up with some reason that is not good enough. I'm like, well, what would be a good enough reason? And they'll never answer it. So just realize, don't care, got laid is a good mantra to have in your life. So I don't think you even want genuine, because everything is genuine. What you want is enthusiastic. And that's where game comes in. I would say lifting to a lesser extent. You need to lift to become attractive enough to cross a certain threshold. But once you've crossed that threshold, looks no longer matter. And it's all about the game. It's all about emotional engagement. Great post by Archwinger, by the way, on this one. If you don't know, it should be on the Red Pill subreddit. I gotta stop reading comments in the middle of a story because then I always lose my train of thought. Relationship, guys, help me out here. What was it? Never live for her, live for you. Yeah, I mean, you live for you. You live to be better at things you want to do. So it's not for her, but she is a measuring stick. So it's fine. And not her, like whatever the girl is. I know, we'll see. We'll just skip that whole line of thought here. Let's get in the chat and engage with you guys. Thanks again. If you guys are listening to this on Spotify or any one of the podcast services, feel free, leave whatever the equivalent is of a like in there. As these things get more popular, I'll make sure to prioritize content on them. So far, you're probably one of like 20 people listening to this on Spotify right now, and God bless you. So feel free, come down to YouTube where you can check these things live. That's Saturday, 9 till 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Same time, don't forget Patreon, and that's _Rian_Stone, Twitter, the whole works. Chances are, if you're listening to this, you probably found me through those anyway, so I'm not going to bother giving you the whole social media spiel. But one thing I find funny, back to the topic here, is the audience, you guys. I'm starting to see a lot of the faces often enough that I'm kind of remembering people. So, like, obviously I know Jack and that, but there'll be Avies and usernames that I just recognize from platform to platform. Some of you guys I see with the same name on Patreon. Some are on the private community. Some are on the Facebook group. Some are on Twitter. And it's interesting seeing you guys progress. It reminds me of, yes, I do not stream, but I take these afterwards, after a delay, and then I put them onto Spotify. So it was like 2017, my first convention that shall not be named and has now gone to shit. But when we first got there, it was a bunch of fat guys in cargo shorts and Slayer t-shirts complaining about women, which it was tragic and I didn't like it, but I kind of expected it. I called it the testicular cancer meeting or Batman origin stories, depending on if a guy was telling you why his wife did him wrong because he wanted to be part of the group, or if it was his way of just coping with not having to work on it. So that was 2017. And then 2018 rolled by. All of a sudden, the body mass index of the room dropped 10 points. People started dressing better. I remember even in the private speaker chat that we had, where all the speakers would talk amongst themselves, even the speakers were like, all right, what shoes should I wear with this? What's this suit? What should I wear there? And people were actually caring about their appearance. It was no longer just a dude in a t-shirt and jogging pants up there telling you about women. It was a guy who's like, all right, these guys are paying a couple $1,000s to hear me speak and engage. So how do I make sure they get the best bang for their buck? All right. So you dress professionally, you show that you're treating it just as importantly as they do. And it was watching the entire, not just the audience, but the speakers, and everybody's value was going up. And it's part of like a locker room. We were holding each other accountable, and I loved it. It's actually a very sad thing that it went away, and I really hope we can get an alternative for red-pilled men going. But point is, I'm seeing that here with a lot of you guys, and I know there was a few of you guys that came on here, and when you first started following, all I would hear was, screw Whammon, MGTOW all the way. I don't think any of you went so far as to say, I want to get a doll because I'm out. But then over the year here, I'm seeing a lot of you guys like, oh, wow, I just tried this and I'm getting women now. And now I'm not seething. I'm not angry anymore. And like, there's a general progression you see with the audience. The one thing that's nice is that none of us have gone viral. I think that's the worst thing that could happen here. And I'm really glad it's a very slow, steady amount of growth with you guys. Bit off topic, but whatever. It's Eternal September. If you guys don't know what that is, Eternal September was something that came out of the origin of the internet. Back when there was Usenet, which is essentially just like long forums. What happened is there was a lot of people that were very interested in certain topics, and they would talk about topics, and it was good, and growth was slow. Occasionally professionals would join. But in September, a lot of students would get internet access, and they would start flooding into the forum. So every September, you would get an influx of people. Yo, Yismo, I'll show you the podcast link when we're done at the end of the episode. So stick around to the end or just click back later, and I'll put a link in there for you. If somebody else has it, please throw it in the chat for them. So what would happen is if you have a group of people, now I don't know the exact percentage. I remember a couple economists were saying it was 12%. But so you have 100 people that are in a community. You've set up your own social norms. You've set up your own accountability. Like everybody kind of knows how to act. You've done, how does Peterson call it? You've done all the negotiations for your male social matrix. Once you get past a certain threshold, and I'll use the number 12%. Like I said, I don't know if that's true or not. Add 13 people in there that don't know the social norms, and they will alter it, usually to the worse, because those people are usually testing boundaries. There's always a regression to the mean with this kind of growth too, because then you're not just having the top 20% of people who are interested in a specific topic. You're having the average person, which really drops the quality down to a cesspool. The red pill had it. I mean, back when it was, and Married Red Pill's good right now because it's only like 25,000 people. But if it were to get 10 times the size in the next year, they would have the exact same problem. And it's just a thing about communities in general. And you can map that to the immigration issues here, and you would be right in doing so, but that's a little outside of the scope of my podcast. So whatever, we'll leave that where it is. Just something to think about. So the good thing about this not going viral is we're having slow and steady growth. And so when new people find this channel, when you show new people Rollo or Rich or myself, there's a chance for them to understand how things work. And there's a chance for you guys to hold them accountable. Even though it's just the internet, there's always those slight nudges where if somebody were to come in here and start ranting about his sex doll, you guys would probably poke fun at him, and it would encourage him to not do so in the future or to leave. And other people who are thinking about it now realize that's a no-go behavior. Guys are very good about hierarchies that way. And so, yeah, right now, Gigatless had a bit of a wine night last night, but don't worry about that. So, and this is the neat thing, because this isn't just about me giving you guys content. You guys are making the community the way you want to see it, and you're holding each other to higher standards. And it's really cool to watch. And I'm going to enjoy the next couple years seeing how much better people are. So I'm going to stop that one again. One Man's Way. Thank you for the $50 super chat. My map is to go after the higher class of chick I couldn't get in high school and date them just for the honeymoon period of 3 to 6 months. I am 31. Will I get better results with alpha frame or beta bucks frame or a mix? It's a good question. I've seen a few different ways of going about it. I personally go with, I like the idea of having, well, alpha frames, not really a thing, but focus on your alpha behaviors. That's looking hot, not signaling resources, being aloof, all the dark triad personality traits that's present hedonism, charm, all those things, awesome for getting women. Now, until you're at that point where you're essentially like a pimp, where like you beat a girl, buy her flowers, like that kind of mindset, until you get to that point, you don't have too many of them to the point where a girl has to leave because the anxiety is too much for her. So err on the side of being a Skittles man is my impression of that. Now, if you want to keep a girl around, a lot of guys have done this where they almost give no comfort. Like, you know, they'll call her a cab, send her on her way. They won't even make breakfast the next morning. But eventually, if she starts going good, they may do those little bits there. It's always whatever you think comfort is, it's maybe 10% of that is proper comfort. And this goes into that video I had about rewarding girls for good behavior. It's actually detrimental to both of you. So don't go with the beta brux thing, because once you get to that, the problem is a girl switches into her provision category. She doesn't know she has two categories she puts men in, lover or provider. As soon as you become the provider, it's all about getting more expensive signals from you as a show of commitment. That's why girls make the guy they want to marry wait 6 months. That's why those things that they used to do with a random dude at the bar, they would never think of doing with him, because her reputation as being the Madonna for him is a much better strategy. So always lean towards the alpha behaviors. And I really should. I want to make a list of it, but then the problem is, you make that a list and some autistic idiot is going to use that list and completely screw it up because he's missing the point. He's looking at the letter of law instead of the spirit of the law. The letter of the law is that you're a female's aspirational model. I would want to be with that kind of guy. I want to try and tame that guy. The same way that guys like the chase, girls like the process too. But I wouldn't say it's a chase. It's they already have the catch, but they have to find a way to keep it. I guess the husbandry, the domestication. Whether that's true or not, completely irrelevant. But when you adopt these mental models in your framework, things work out better. So I would suggest go that route. Focus on that. Be aloof. Quick thing here. So Paradox 92 asked Ryan, do you have a video on the dark triad features you just mentioned? I don't know if I do. Best resources if guys want to learn about dark triad is David Dutton's Wisdom of Psychopaths. Illimitable Man has some earlier stuff, but it's a little bit abstract, so it's hard to map it. I would say start with Dutton's work. Yeah. So what are we on here? Oh, wow. The 1 hour mark already. It's amazing. Back to genuine desire. So single guys, you get it. Genuine desire just means is she interested? And that's easy for guys. As a single guy, if you're getting genuine desire, it's because she's there. From a relationship, it's always a little hazy because guys are worried about, well, is she doing this just because I've been nagging her about it? Or is she doing this because she wants to? And a lot of guys, here's where I'm going with this one. A lot of guys wait for girls to initiate, and that is the wrong move. The way women initiate sex is completely different from the ways guys initiate sex. And if you're not aware of that, you can actually be rejecting her and not even know it. Problem with that is women hate rejection. If you ever want to see a girl lose her shit, reject her openly, and you will see her turn into the most vile shrew of a woman. If you want to get hit by a girl you barely know, turn her down. So when girls approach, they make themselves available. If you're a single guy, it's usually the girl will make sure she's front and center in front of you. She's close by. She's available to be isolated. She basically sets you up for success, but you still have to make the move. Even if she absolutely cannot stand to not go home with you that night, she will not make a move. She will rather be frustrated and angry and go home alone. She would rather go home alone than risk rejection by flirting with that guy that she desperately wants. She'll just make herself available. And the wives are the same thing. They make themselves available. And they have to kind of pay attention to what to look for. Now, guys, we naturally have a positive signal preference. So we always assume that those are signals. Those are go signals. Oh, yeah, she wants me. The waitress that quickly looked over at me and looked away, she wants me. The hooker, I paid her, but she really wanted me. Oh, that stripper's totally into me because she's talking to me. We always assume that because for us, having a false positive is not a bad thing. It just means we get some rejection, we move on. For girls, a false positive means they get rejection, and for them, that's horrible. So a good strategy for guys moving forward in relationships is to actually start being mindful. And this is where you kind of have to either keep a mental tally or write it down if you want to. You can be doing the spreadsheet thing if you want to. Whatever it takes to have you start paying attention to what signals are go signals and what signals are non-go signals. Well, most of the go signals. The non-go ones don't really care about. So what does a girl do when she wants to? Now, sometimes, here's a funny one. So one of the guys, he said his wife, and this is probably one of the stupidest things I've ever seen a guy do. It made me laugh. Her way of hitting on him was essentially to get naked and then walk by him and then just shake her butt and then walk to the bedroom. And he didn't like that because to him, that wasn't genuine. So he gave her like a good job. And then probably one of the harshest things you could possibly do to a woman is what he did right there. But in his mind, he thought, like, this is not genuine desire. This is not what I want. I want a girl that's like compulsed. And I'm like, dude, that is genuine desire. That's the equivalent of you walking up, dropping your pants and saying, suck it, and grabbing her head. Like, there is no more of a clear signal. And it's just a difference in the way that men and women think, act, and how their behaviors manifest because of their innate biological instincts. That's not a bad thing. Now, if you don't like the particular signals, okay, so Michelle just put in the chat here that the wife just did that 15 minutes ago and I told her to get dressed. If you really are doing a rejection here, maybe it's because you're busy. I'm surprised you actually told her to get dressed and put that away to come listen to me. Thank you, but don't do that in the future. Oh, I haven't had this thing the whole time. Sorry about that. Be playful about it and make sure you express through your body language. It's not a no, it's a not right now. Then that stops the rejection part. And there's the thing. It's the old adage, reward good behavior, don't reward bad behavior. In this case, a girl initiating sexually is good behavior. Even if you're not into it, you want to encourage it. You want to reward it and still be playful, still be charming. Just treat it like a tease. Bring the sexual energy back down, saying we'll bring it up a little bit later. You know, ass smacks, all that kind of stuff. And these things are all good things. These are all part about being attractive. It's never about no with a girl. It's always about not now. Playful as you can, lots of smiles. And you'll find that you're going to start getting a lot more positive signals as you pay attention to rewarding good behavior. I'm going to use a dog analogy here. Drives me nuts. When I go to the suburbs, especially in the city, people are much better at this. But let's say dogs are getting into something they shouldn't get into. What's the first thing that you'll see somebody do when a dog is having a fight with another dog or doing something he's not supposed to do or he's running too far away? Nice, Michelle. The first thing they'll do is they'll start yelling at their dog. Hey, get over here. Here's the thing. They're not empathizing with the dog. And the same way the guy telling his wife, yeah, get some clothes on. I don't have time for this. The same way the guy rejecting his girl's advances or a girl's advances isn't empathizing with the female position. Because the dog just sees somebody yelling at them, pointing at the ground. Like, why would I go over there to that guy who's yelling at me? He's probably going to beat me if I do that. I'm going to stick here because right now, this is the most fun thing in my life is licking this dog's ass. So dogs end up being very misbehaved, and then they're signaling to everybody around them that they have a very misbehaved dog and they can't take control of it. It's a very bad signal. Instead, what you do, if your dog's going out there doing his thing, you make what's with you the most attractive thing for them, and they'll come running. Act really happy, act excited, even if they're doing something that's dangerous. You don't show fear, you don't show danger because that freaks them out, and they're like, I'm not going near him, he's terrified. But if you act like, oh my God, you got to come here, and you're such the happiest guy, it's very energetic, oh good, the dog will like, forget this ass, I'm going to come run over there and see what you're up to, and you give them some rewards. You're rewarding good behavior. In this case, it's recall for a dog. In the wife's case, it's rewarding a girl who's making the effort to show genuine sexual desire towards you. And it sounds like such a simple thing. And by explaining it here, I'm sure you guys all agree. But in practice, most guys are too busy thinking inside, like staring at their own navel and caught inside their own head that they forget these very simple things. So you have to be mindful of it. Even if you're not in the mood, even if she wore you out, don't be afraid to turn a no into a not now and be flirtatious with it. Because the last thing you want to do is reject a girl for being sexually available to you. Nothing will close it up faster than that. She's not feeling it. You're not feeling it. 2 rules of pickup: be attractive, don't be unattractive. That is probably one of the most unattractive things you can do. So on that note, one more aspect of genuine desire. All right, had my coffee. Now it's up for a little bit of hydration. Use code PewDiePie for 30% off. So we've had these discussions a lot, and they always end up with that conversation. Well, what if my wife is generally a horrible person, or I don't enjoy her, or I don't like her, or she's gained way too much weight and I'm just not sexually attracted? In that case, you don't want to reward bad behavior. And that's the flip side of this. This is why you can't take this stuff and autistically apply it. You have to map it to your individual situation. So if your girl is up to 200 pounds and you can't get hard unless you picture porn in your head, and she starts doing these same activities that would generally be attractive on an attractive person, how do you navigate that? Or if you're getting hit on by the ugly girl in the group that you don't really into it, I would suggest then For the girl in the group, you want to let her down easy. For the wife, you want to let her down easy too. The reason for that, for the attractive group, is that you're just signaling a display of higher value by showing you can be eloquent in letting a girl down. It shows that social acuity that women do find attractive. When they talk about guys with high EQ or guys who are sensitive, and that's all they mean is a guy who can handle social situations with a little bit of grace and understand how to navigate people's feelings. It's the same as when a girl sees a guy dance, and they always say how he dances is what he's like to sleep with. How a guy acts in a social setting with people's feelings is the way that he will make her feelings work. And that's kind of a limbic brain thing they have going on. The wife, the reason you don't want to be very harsh about it is because it's very counterintuitive. But so for a guy, you're going to take somebody saying, I don't find you attractive, you're too fat. You'll usually take that as a call to action, meaning, well, I better get in shape. Girls just shut down and then they feel real bad and look for validation. And they find, the guy who's into BBW and get their validation from him. So it really sucks. There's nothing wrong with being honest, but you got to pick your times there because you want to, like during the rejection, you be kind. No, not right now. I'm not feeling it. And she should know it's because you're not finding her attractive. But when you get that conversation that comes up later, and you will, does my ass look fat in these jeans conversation? We all know of some variant of that validation seeking thing. Just be honest. You could lose a few. And it is amazing. Girls take critique to the nth degree. So you could say something very, very mild like that. You could lose a few pounds. And in a girl, her head, it means I need to lose 100 pounds, which may be true. But a little goes a long way. And so you don't need much. And then it gives that little push towards it. And then this is where leadership comes in. Maybe it's the case that she does not know how to eat or control her cravings. So maybe you have to do meal prep for the both of you. Do it together. Girls love solidarity, by the way. There's a great post from the Last Psychiatrist's blog where he talks about, I can't remember the name of it. I want to say it's Real Men Drink Guinness, but don't ask them to pay for it. I'm pretty sure it's that article. But he talks about how a girl shaves her head in solidarity for a friend of hers that had to lose her hair because of chemotherapy. And he goes, that's a very feminine way of looking at things. And he didn't like how modern advertising was using that same female sensibility to sell male products to men who are not able to articulate their masculinity, but they want to express it through merchandising. Thing to take away from that for us is guys don't need solidarity. If you have cancer and you lose your hair, your guys don't shave your head to show solidarity. They're just there to push you towards a more productive use of your time. But girls like the solidarity. So you meal prep the both of you. Or maybe she does and you're just willing and you go with it. Or, she wants to switch to a vegan diet and you switch to a vegan diet for what. However the details manifest, that's up to you from a leadership role to decide. But the good thing about that is they have a follow the leader attitude and they see an end of the tunnel. And she still does look up to you. You're not crushing her self-esteem. So she still does see you as her best option. And that's making hypergamy work for you. And it's a great thing to do. Now it takes effort. And sometimes you might just have to slay the dragon to keep that motivation high. Nobody said relationships were easy. So yeah, you gotta slay some dragons to get to the princess, even if it's the same person. All right. But that's not bad. So I'm going to go into chat here. Anybody who's listening to this one on Patreon, these guys, you really do yourself a disservice by not coming to check these out live on YouTube because some of the conversations that arise because of it are just amazing. So right now we got one of the guys in Algeria talking about how feminism has been adopted in his place as affluence goes up, or a lot of the things I'm talking about here, maybe I'll only devote a sentence or two to solidarity, but they'll kind of expand on it with some of the things they know. It's guys literally swapping notes. So always feel free, come in, check out the channel, do your thing. It's always good. Conk is right again. Conk's become a very popular character on here. I'm surprised you don't do more videos there, Conky. But genuine desire. The other problem with that is do guys even want genuine desire? Another aspect of it is some guys love setting up hurdles to success as an excuse for not getting the success that they want. It's the funniest thing. You'll see a guy who can't get women at all, and so he creates these coping strategies. Well, it's the Pareto principle. There's 20 Chads out of 100, and they're the ones sleeping with everybody, and there's no girls left, which isn't true. The Pareto principle, the way to apply it into sexual dynamics is within a hierarchy, the top 20% of the people experience the most success sexually. But being that we're humans and there's so damn many of us, we have an almost infinite amount of hierarchies. The guy who's the director of finance at the company is top of that hierarchy in his department. But he goes to the bar, and maybe the head bartender or the head bouncer is the top of the hierarchy of that one, or the manager, who maybe has a band playing, and the front man of the band is the top man in that hierarchy. Now, each one of these guys, if there's enough women that have entered this co-ed space, they have their pick from that as the top 20% of men for the top 80% of women. So they have their picks there. But you take them outside of their hierarchy, and they may be a lot lower on that hierarchy. They may not have any success at all. So when people are talking about how the top 20% are getting everything, they think that there's just a single hierarchy among people. And if that was the case, Trump would be the one with all the women because he's the top of the American hierarchy, or we can argue the free world, whatever. But it's not the case. So if you're not at the top 20% of your particular hierarchy, there's two things you can do. You can find a different hierarchy, or you can improve within the existing one. Those are just simple things. This is mental point of origin. I want to be the best at what I do. And it could be something simple. It could be esports. There is guys that are just crushing it right now when they're playing League of Legends competitively. Think about that. I am so much better at video games than you that I can sleep with like 18-year-old Korean girls. It's mine. Ask somebody this 10 years ago or 15 years ago, they would have called you an idiot. The only thing your hierarchy requires is female participation. And that's why I don't think the red pill will ever be the kind of hierarchy. And even then, yeah, a lot of us do get a lot of female attention, which is strange. Like a lot of the guys on Reddit found this. You would not believe the amount of times one of the moderators from the red pill or the married red pill were getting like nudes and flirtatious messages from like random girls that, and you're like, I don't get it. I'm acting like a complete misogynist. You don't even know what I look like yet. You're totally hooked on it. And sometimes that's just it. It's just being the top of a hierarchy is attractive enough for a girl to simulate making herself available to a man, which is fine. Everybody has their bit of fun. You don't want to fall for those though, because those are thirst traps. And the one thing I will say for sure, anybody who values 100% of women. All right, fine, Rolo. He says 100% of women are interested in the top 20%. So I said 80. That's fine. I don't want to quibble over numbers here, and that's the thing. We're going to use Rolo as the example. Perfect example. When he was in his band, he was the top 20% of men. If people went to the bar to listen to them, guaranteed he was the top percent because he actually curated his hierarchy for himself. Now, obviously, some of the guys that were like the managers of the bar, the head bouncer, that cute bartender, maybe they entered that top 20% because there's more than room for one, or there's room for more than one. But then when he was done and he went, snowmobiling with his dogs out by the lake or up on the mountains, that hierarchy is a different hierarchy. And maybe there's the guy there who's got the cooler skidoo than him, or, maybe he's jacked and he actually does better than Rolo did back then. I don't know. But that's the point. There's always places, and you play to your strengths. If you haven't watched it yet, go back. Carl and I have an episode where we talk about red and blue oceans. The good thing about guys is that if you find a hierarchy with just the right amount of competition, you can both grow as a person and experience the success that you want. So you want to find where you're in the 21st percentile of whatever hierarchy you're in. So then that 1% of growth, bam, you're in the top of the Pareto principle. Now, I'm not saying it's like a correlated, okay, I hit 21%, I hit 19%, top 19. Where's my women? You still have to put some effort into it. There's always the chase, there's always the burden of performance. But in general, taking another principle from pickup was you're not going to get that girl, but you're just going to get yourself chances at more girls. So once you put yourself in a position where you're able to get more girls, then the opportunities happen quicker, and the things that you do naturally become more attractive. Man, one man way. You're just crushing it with these things here. So again, one man way. Thank you again for the $10 super chat. Can you manufacture your own hierarchy? Yes. Yes, you can. But it's not always the easiest thing. Consider the red pill space. It's a manufactured hierarchy. We created our own hierarchy. A bunch of pickup artists, County Galt, Rollo, a bunch of the old guys decided to make a hierarchy out of just their thoughts, writing in blogs about sleeping with women or being in relationships. Bam. Created a hierarchy of which there's groupies. And the groupies are very emotional types. That's where the Kitten Holiday, Carolina Hermes, Deads and Sushi, like you see them already. And you can argue whether it's a good hierarchy and it attracts enough of the type of women you want. That's a different argument. But if you build a hierarchy, yes, eventually, once it becomes popular enough within a niche of people, women will generally flock to it. They don't even have to like it. I'll use a good example here. In rural towns, women tend to like sports. Why? Because there's not as much availability of good men. And so they have to ingratiate themselves into the activities that those good men have. In this case, a lot of good men in rural towns like watching sports. So girls watch sports because that's where the guys are. And then they learn to like sports. They don't actually like sports. Like if you just put 50 girls in a room, not one of them will think to put on Sportsnet. But you put 100 dudes in a room, of which all of them watch sports, and the girls want to compete in that marketplace, they're going to start liking sports. And then the hierarchy kind of works itself out there. So you most certainly can create your own hierarchies. But I don't want you to think of it as in, if I build it, they will come. It has to be something more. And this is where it's kind of nice to play off the pussy begging thing versus the intrasexual dynamics where you're competing with other guys. Hierarchies usually start by guys surrounding themselves based on a common purpose. Online gaming or esports. We'll use esports as an example. Guys got together because they wanted to competitively play StarCraft, created a community. The community became popular. Once it became popular, girls infiltrate it to have their pick of the best men there. It's gamer girls. It's a sub niche thing. Bam, they created their own hierarchy. But the hierarchy's purpose wasn't to get girls. This is where you get that, what's that new Franco thing? Start a band, you'll create a hierarchy. Yeah. Yeah, Rollo puts it best. In fact, I'm going to switch. Sorry, I'm switching off the super chat there, One Man Army, because Rollo had a really great point. Start a band, you'll create a hierarchy. Create a game that other men will play and you can control, and you create the hierarchy. Other men may be better at it. They may supplant you as the top dog of that hierarchy, but, you know, as long as you're in that top 20%, you're fine. And it's fun and it's engaging. And when I talked before about enjoying the chase, part of it is building your own logistics. That's part of the chase too. I have the bar that I go to. I have my core group of people that I hang out with that are high value and we have fun with. All these things are part of the chase. They're creating a hierarchy of high value people within an activity that you guys find fulfilling. And that, I'm going to use energy in lack of a better word, but that energy, that camaraderie, all the good things that come out of that build a hierarchy that women naturally find attractive. It's a biological thing. I wish I could explain it. All I know is it happens, which I guess if I had to put it in Evo psych terms, and correct me if I'm wrong, which I am, a bunch of guys get together because they hate starving. So they make a hunting tribe and they learn to make really good spears. And girls see those guys eating really well and having cool hunts and patting each other on the back. And they're like, I want in on that. I would argue that this need for girls to infiltrate hierarchies stems from that Paleolithic upbringing. Problem comes, though, with the male and the female social matrix and how they differ in how they act. So you kind of have to create a sub-hierarchy within them. Great example of that was the Athol K forums. Very red-pilled, married. What happened was he started letting women come in because it became very popular. girls like having high value husbands that they love to have sex with. So they came in and then they instantly try to domesticate the group for their sensibilities and their risk aversion, which totally destroys the purpose of a group. The sex life forums eventually closed down. Athel K, I don't even know. I think he went bankrupt, heart attack. Very tragic story. So you kind of, if you want women, you can allow them into space, but at the same time, you can't let them control the space. And this is another purpose of the top people of the hierarchy and why they can't be beta males. Ken, I see your super chat. I'll get to you in just 2 seconds here. If you're the kind of man with abundance, you can have women in your hierarchy and they won't change it too much. They'll want to, but you'll just laugh. Yeah, whatever, woman. We're going hunting. Well, don't use the spear. It's too big. Whatever. We're going hunting. We'll come back with meat. You get a guy who's thirsty as the top of a hierarchy, and all of a sudden, to placate women, they'll start changing things to appease her, hopefully leading that as a sexual signal. It's very weird. It's unattractive behaviors from attractive positions in a hierarchy, and I think it's hilarious to watch. That's where you get the MRAs, the men's rights advocates, where they put female cheerleaders at the top of the hierarchy. That's where you get girl rights what? Smart chick. I'm not saying she's not switched on, but there's something I find ironic about a men's rights movement that can only function when they put women at the top of the hierarchy and they appease women. It's a huge validation seek. It's a very unattractive display. And it probably shows why in the last 40 years of the movement, there hasn't been one legal or social victory that they can point to, at least not that I know of. But yeah, and other men hate it when guys change things to cater to women too, because as soon as you do that, and this is where it actually is pussy begging. If your hierarchy is geared towards, competitive StarCraft, and all of a sudden you make it female friendly, and it no longer becomes about that. It's literally about pedestalizing women. And if you guys have been paying attention, there is no display of lower value than putting a woman on a pedestal. And that's why allowing women to invade a male space and change it is one of the worst things you can do from an attraction standpoint. I would honestly love if we had women in here. There's a lot of girls that have great understanding about the sexual marketplace that have amazing value here. The problem is most guys in the red pilled space are not attractive. If they were, they wouldn't need to be here. They're either they're either not attractive or they have too many unattractive qualities. And so it's not stable enough from a male focused standpoint to be able to allow a lot of women to come in without ultimately thirsty men changing the space and completely destroying it. It's just the nature of the beast. Now, where was I here? The question. Thank you again from the $5 super chat from Ken Wilder. Well, $4.99 technically. Women attractive to base level members in a hierarchy? Is there as a frat for adults? Not the base level members, just being part of it. I mean, we're not talking about, you're in a band and they'll still sleep with the bassist or the drummer. Like, it's not like that. Those guys, the band is the top of the hierarchy. The fans are at the bottom. But if you think like the most engaged Kiss fan is sleeping with Kiss groupies, I don't know what to tell you. The roadies might, the security might, the manager might, the accountant even might, the band definitely is. But like the bottom level guys most likely aren't. Now that is not necessarily a bad thing. That awesome super fan of Kiss that never gets any of the groupies, he probably has his own hierarchies where he does better. Most low parts of hierarchies are high parts of other hierarchies. And if they're doing it right, they're doing just fine there. They're getting, like I said, you build your hierarchy, there's the genuine desire. The girl likes the guy from this particular hierarchy. That's genuine. Does she really like the sports team? Is that why she's hanging out with all you guys at the bar watching sports? Girls are very good at learning to like what they're getting. Think of it the same as War Brides. If you guys don't know, that's a post by Rolo. I'm sure he'll throw up a link. If it, he's right. Women will start placating women in the space. So no, not at the bottom of the hierarchy, but if you build a top hierarchy, a good hierarchy, women engage in it and they'll learn to like what the hierarchy is about in the same way that when the Germans invaded France in World War II, you ended up getting war brides. The French government found it was actually, there was so many half French, half German babies, they were actually worried about the French bloodline. And if you'd have asked any girl during the invasion if they liked the Germans, they would have all said no. Save the French, vive la France. But once they occupied France, well, Hans isn't so bad. Yeah, Franz is kind of cute. Well, I got to eat, and it's genuine desire, and I don't want to get murdered or whatever. I was just thinking too, if I do another example. Rollo's got some great examples. If you haven't looked in the chat, read through. Rollo's got some perfect examples there to help you. But I'll mention one here, libertarian. I find that to be like my little pet project sub niche. I like watching it because there is nothing more attractive to an 18-year-old girl that doesn't want dad to tell her what to do than libertarian philosophy. That's essentially what it is. Nobody can tell me what to do. I do what I want. And that's obviously, it's an oversimplification of libertarianism, especially American libertarianism. But a lot of women have adopted that. Like, that sounds great. That's exactly what I want for a political philosophy. Like, get out of my face. And you want to do a fun experiment. Find yourself the prettiest libertarian you can find that gives a very stupid hot take and call her out on the disingenuous of it. I remember I did that with this one. I don't even really know or care what she was talking about. I just kind of did a retweet. It's like, yeah, this is how thirst traps work or something like that. And you'll watch the guys within the hierarchy start closing ranks like rhinos protecting their young. So it's really fascinating to watch when a group has made women the focus and not the thing that they're there for. If you're in a hierarchy that's got a strong male direction and a strong focus, mission focused, they may poke fun. If you're attacked, like, it may tell you, don't piss off, don't be a dick, but they won't circle around with this irrational, like, I don't want to say fear, but like this irrational disdain for any attack of their women from the outside. But if you see that same level of fervor for somebody that philosophically goes against libertarian, for example, then you would know you have a strong hierarchy, because guys are like, it's all about the idea, it's about the mission focus. Go into a car forum where guys are talking about cars all day, and you go in there and start running your mouth about trucks. Watch them, like a herd of rhinos, circle around car culture as theirs. I'm like, get out of here with your truck nonsense. That's what you'll see as a healthy hierarchy that's got a healthy appreciation for the women in the space, but still remains mission focused. And those, apply that to your own life and your own hierarchies, and you're going to find that that gives you a more sustainable model of not worshiping women, not putting women on the pedestal, and still getting your genuine desire. It's by not placating, you're displaying higher value and getting higher value from it. So back to the question about being at the bottom of the hierarchy. No, but that doesn't mean you can't be good in other hierarchies. And to the main point, like Rollo says right here, I put it up in the chat, the problem with allowing women into the red-pilled space is that men will start placating to women if we do. So, well, not we, like I won't. Rollo probably won't. But enough of the audience will that some huckster will capitalize on that. And I guarantee you there's enough people in this space that just want money and attention that they'll say whatever they can say. That's where you get the whole, guy, just get a doll. Trust me. And here's my affiliate code. They don't actually think it's better for society for dolls. They just know if you give them money and they give you dolls, they get to live in a Lamborghini. So that's good enough. On the flip side of thing, though, you kind of need money as a motivator, at least in this space. And I'll explain why. Outside of, like, it's big enough now that I think we're past the hobbyist group, guys that have a genuine interest in it. There still is that very core group of guys, of which I include myself and guys like Rollo with, that enjoy it for the depth of it, actually staying on the focus, learning about the intersexual dynamics, applying red pill to different theories in life. Awesome things. For a guy to go public, though, or to wrap a business and really start focusing on it past a hobbyist level, there's only going to be two motivations. Proselytization, I guess, is a part of it too, but either going to be money or validation. Now, money is good in the sense that as long as you can stay focused on the process. This is where genuine desire flips on guys pursuing their missions. If it's genuine desire, then you use money as a marker. Same way as you use women as a marker of, am I more attractive? Am I getting more women? If you're spreading or talking more and helping men with red pill messages and it's making more money, then you're using that as a surrogate for success. Okay, I'm more successful because my Patreon grew to 100 people this month. Awesome. The other side of things, though, let's say you're one of those guys who's like, oh, if you're doing it for money, you're just a sellout. Well, what other reason is there going to be for somebody to put themselves as an ass model on Instagram and talk to you guys making videos? The only other reason is to hide deficiencies or get validation. And that is why LARPers are so common in this space, because there's no money in men's sexual strategy. I'll ask me how I know. If you're doing this and you're not getting paid, but you're making yourself visible like this, chances are, and I think I can point out a very clear example that you guys may or may not know about from the president of the manosphere, where you're hiding an insecurity or a deficiency with this narrative fantasy. It's narcissism, really. And so when guys are saying, I'm not in this for the money, but they still have a product, it makes you wonder, okay, so at least from a business standpoint, I understand you want this thing to be a viable, valuable service to another person to the point where you become sustainable for yourself. Makes perfect sense. Same as a lawyer. Lawyers aren't in it for the money. They're in it to practice law. But the money shows you the difference between a good lawyer and a shill lawyer. But if there was a lawyer talking about he's not in it for the money, would you trust him with your court trial? Probably not. It's the same thing as a male feminist. All these guys are huge feminist allies, and they talk about it, and you're like, that's weird. I understand why guys are selling Dove soap to the women, or, Marvel superhero. Captain America is now a woman. They're doing that as a business thing. But for the guys who are just trying to say they're allies, that's when you find it's because I don't know how to attract women. I'm not very good at it. So they adopt the female strategy. If you remember earlier when I talked about how girls learn to like sports, well, that's why guys learn to like feminism. They treat women as men. They think they're completely equal. So they treat the female hierarchy, in this case, a feminist group, as a male hierarchy, and they ingratiate themselves into it. Oh, I love feminism too, when they want to get their top pick of the top 20% of women. Problem with that is men aren't women. So when that happens, sexual predation runs rampant. I don't get it. I like sports. You like sports. Why aren't you sleeping with me? Oh, I don't get it. I like feminism too. I'm an ally. Why are you not sleeping with me? And they just get crushed. And it makes perfect sense now to me why women are so distrusting of men in feminist spheres, because they've actively curated a group of unattractive, validation-seeking, very deceptive men among their ranks. So if that's the only men they see, it's no wonder they hate men. They're acting like men. They're getting men to act like women, and they're finding this role reversal is completely ridiculous. Now, if you want to talk about genuine desire, let's talk about disingenuous desire. And I would say that's exactly what that is. Taking the girls that like sports ball and applying it to men, the men who like feminism. Tisk, tisk, tisk. But on that note, we're coming up to an hour and a half. I think I might take a longer break. We might cut this one short, not without the full 2 hours. If there's any more questions in the chat here, we'll do a quick little chat up. And otherwise, I'm going to call it, have some breakfast, and get ready for Rule 0. If you guys don't know, it's going to be on this channel today. It's going to go from 11:30 till 1:20, I think. I have another spa day today, so we're going to keep a tight timings on this one, which is going to be awesome. So looking forward to that. You guys are going to enjoy yourself. Quick super chat again from One Man's Way. Thank you very much for the $20 super chat. You cracked it for me with the make yourself your own mental point of origin and get chicks while being altruistic. I can just focus on making my male friends' lives better through our hobbies and building a hierarchy. Yeah, and everything feeds off each other. Don't think of one thing to the exclusion of the other. You build your hierarchy. Now, it can't be a coping strategy. You can't be a bunch of guys who are completely unattractive, and so you're just having fun around each other, making your own clubhouse, and like, oh yeah, we don't know. You gotta have to hold each other accountable. You have to make yourselves attractive. That won't, like, yes, I get it. And for some spheres, it doesn't matter. Like a lot of the esports celebrities, they don't lift weights, they don't look attractive, they act very childish, and it still works. But in general, you'll have far more success with a smaller niche troupe of guys that are generally attractive in the conventional ways you think of attraction. That's why bands work well, because bands are in shape. Band could be 5 people, have their own hierarchy. Even if they play crappy music, I'm sure Coldplay got all the chicks. I'm sure Nickelback got all the chicks. But that's the thing, like being in a rock band, you guys all look pretty, in shape, pretty attractive, dress well, all that stuff comes in. So you can either wait until you build a hierarchy of like 1,000,000 people, in which case a lot of that look stuff doesn't matter. But if you're only going to have a hierarchy of 20 people, 10 people, having all of you look attractive AF is going to work far better for you in the long run. So, Also, Jimmy Bob Jim Sauce brought up a great point. So I know we talk about frame a lot. If you don't have a good understanding of it, I have a post on my blog called Authenticity. I would say give it a read. It'll help you frame the idea of framing and give you a good way forward in understanding what I mean when I talk about frame. Easy way to describe it, I use Mad Men as a metaphor. Everybody wants to be Don Draper, but John Draper isn't Don Draper. He's Walter Whitman. But in reality, you want to be John Hamm. John Hamm's the only one who gets success out of that and doesn't lose his mind. Oh yeah, I guess Rolo has a bunch. See, I always goes without saying to check out Rolo stuff. Although chances are, all you guys here, I guarantee you've already read all of Rolo's stuff. So at this point, I can't really recommend you read it twice. I can recommend you buy 5 of his books and give them out to your buddies. So that's about it. The blog post is on ryanstone.com/blog. And the post is called Authenticity. I guess I can pull up a link, but you guys are going to watch me type into the thing here. For everybody on Spotify that are listening to this, if you're wondering why I'm quiet all of a sudden, it's because I'm pulling up a link. I don't have a Jamie to pull it up for me, so I have to do it myself. Wow, look at that gorilla. Do you think that gorilla can fight that bear? Oh, here we go. So here's the post. I'm actually surprised how recent it was. I had to redo it. It's nice. I've actually started to become somewhat of a decent writer now. Thank God. It only took 500,000 words and 4 years to get there. But so what I'm doing is going to a lot of my posts that I used to have and writing them a bit better and easier to understand, which has really been helpful. But that's fun. And that's the part that I enjoy out of this stuff. As I talk with you guys more, I learn how to better articulate the concepts and how to refine them to the point where they're more helpful for you guys. So just you sitting here listening to me run my mouth is helping me help you. So it's a nice little symbiotic thing there. So I guess I want to thank you guys too. There's the fluffing. Links are in the chat now. The post that I was talking about, as well as the Patreon community. So I think we're going to call it now in the next 3 minutes. One man's way with a quick one here. Your show with Rolo is 11:30 p.m. or a.m. That's a.m. So that's going to be in about 40 minutes. It's going to be fun times. Topic of that conversation is, are men adapting to the new sexual marketplace? I wonder if I should start with my opinion now on that one. I would say for the most part, no, but some, yes. Again, it's like with anything. 20% of guys seem to be miraculously thriving through it. A bunch of other guys are either failing to adapt or are just good enough that they're plowing through with the failed mental models they have anyways. So we'll see. On that note, thank you everybody for listening in. It's been a blast. Wishing Carl a speedy recovery and his Christmas dream to have less Spurgs in the manosphere. Let's do our part to make sure that happens. Smash that like button. Hit the notification bell icon. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, Anchor, or other services, I don't know what to do on those. Is there a like button on Spotify? I can't remember. But enjoy yourselves. And if you keep listening, I'll keep running my mouth. I'll catch you guys later.